Hi, my name is Rainy Schlosser, and I'm your host for SYNGAP1 Stories. My daughter Hope was born in 2019 and diagnosed with SYNGAP1 on November 27, 2023. This is a SYNGAP1 Stories special, which is a little different from our regular episodes. Here we highlight pieces from previous episodes and focus on a specific topic or two. You can find more SYNGAP1 stories on our website at curesyngap1.org. I hope you enjoyed today's SYNGAP1 Stories special.
So we did a lot of genetics early on and just kept not finding things. And at the time that we stopped, it was about $10,000 out of pocket to do whole exome sequencing. And I was like, yeah, we're not going to find anything. We're going to find like a couple like things that nobody knows about. That we'll find some changes. No one will have any idea what those changes mean. And I'll just be stuck doing literature searches. And it'll tear me up and I still won't know anything. I decided to just wait until it was going to be closer to 2000. Some years later, went back to our doctor and was like, okay, it's about $2,000 now for this test. Let's get it. I'm ready to pay. And she said, oh no, you don't have to pay. Insurance will pay for that. Now, no one asked me to come in. Nobody was telling me that this was to be done. I was the one asking for it because of my background in genetics. I have a PhD in human genetics. And so I think because of that, they're like, oh, sure, you know about that. We'll do that. When I got the results back, I was just like, could barely talk. I just couldn't talk. Like, I'm usually not at a loss for words. And I just was stunned. There was only one thing on the report. It was obviously pathogenic. And I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that we had an answer. I couldn't believe that it accounted for all his differences.
So that was in 2017. Was the SYNGAP Research Fund created at that time?
No, it wasn't. But I did go to Baltimore and meet Rick Huganier at a meeting and talk to him then. And then I went to another meeting that Gavin Rumbaugh hosted at Scripps, and that's where I met Mike Graglia. And at that point, Mike said, and I was a scientist. I was a mom scientist, and so I met him, and he was so energetic and so excited, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I've seen you have a 4-year-old. I was like, I remember back to my child being 4, and like he wasn't developing well. He was an overly easy baby. And then I'd lived through this other time where he was incredibly difficult and really hard. I wasn't sleeping, and he was really aggressive and really self-injurious, and I was very, very isolated, and I didn't know what to do. It was tough. But I really enjoy the genetics, and so I was like, well, I'll help out with the genetics. I'll come to some meetings when you invite me, and I'll help people with their genetic reports. You get this, and you go to the geneticist, and you get the report, and you can't take in any new information. And genetics is like one of the worst jargon languages there is, and so right. None of it makes any sense, and you have no idea what they're talking about, and all you can think of is, but my kid looks okay, what's going on, Or if you were at my stage, you're like, holy cow, really, that's what it is. So the differences that people feel when they go to the geneticist, they have a lot to do with what stage you're at. And so, I mean, some of it has to do with your values and stuff. Some of it's like that, but I'd say most of the difference is going to be in just what stage you're at. Like, is this news to you? Is it news to you that your child has a difficult problem? Or did you already know that? Did you already know your child has this really difficult problem? And now this explains it. All the emotions we go through, they're all the same. They're just kind of in a different order based on their symptoms and how much help you have when, and when different aspects of the disease show their head, and were they seizing right away or not? Like, if you're not seizing right away, you don't really know about it. So, but if you're having seizures already, you're really worried. You're like, oh my gosh, I'm worried. But my kid was probably having seizures all the time, but nobody thought he was, and he didn't look like he was. So that's a hidden symptom. So I wasn't worried. So anyway, the whole point is, this is a broad community. We all go through the same emotions, even though sometimes they're in a different order with what the external situation is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I know I've heard some families say they were relieved with the diagnosis, and other people are, me, I was devastated
Of
with the
course.
diagnosis. You know,
Of course.
when I got the diagnosis for Hope, I shut down completely. I didn't want to hear anything about it, I didn't want to read anything about it. I
Of
was
course.
defeated at that point. Then I met Mike as well. He taught me and told me a lot about the SYNGAP Research Fund, and now I volunteer for it.